Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. In this video we're going to be adding some more stuff onto the multiplayer sort of project that I've been sort of working through. So this one is going to be similar to the last one where we use key cards to go through sort of like doorways or portals. And we introduced the gameplay tags system into that to do the checks. So a gameplay tag is basically just a boolean, a tick box, a yes or no, but you can apply these booleans to your character. So for example, you can add the boolean as has access to the door is true. So then when you approach the door, you can ask the door to check, does the player that's approached have the access to enter, and if that's true, so the boolean, then it allows access, and if it's false, then it does not. So what I've gone and done is I've gone and extended this just a little bit, and instead of the key card which you pick up and then that gives you access to the door, to actually get access to this door you need to stand on a pressure plate. Now to make it more interactive, more multiplayer, there's actually two pressure pads and they both are somewhat connected together, and both of them need to be sort of activated to give both of the characters that activate them access to that portal or that doorway. So a quick demo of how this works. Now realistically I should have set this demo up a little bit better. I've spent far too sorry I spent too long resizing that window there. So first guy grabs a key card, runs into the second area, stands on the button and gets told you need to find the other button. That message has now disappeared because I don't want it to continuously pop up because it gets really annoying. But if you can see that, like, we don't have access, but when we stand on this, we're expected to find another person to stand on the pressure plate. So we get the second person. Let's come and run over here. So again, you can see the first character stood on that one, but we don't have access to this. But there is another pressure pad over here. And then if we stand on this one, at the same time as the other one is pressed, you can see access has been granted. There was a little message up at the top. And now each character has access to the window to the doorway, and then everybody's happy. We're on to the next phase, and that's that really. Now, what you could do is when both people stand on it, you could play a sound which sort of indicates that the door has been unlocked, some sort of feedback. You could set the doorway to change color automatically, but I'll leave all that stuff up to you. So let's jump into the blueprint and find out how this actually functions. Okay, so we're going to have a quick look at the portal. It hasn't changed at all. It's exactly the same blueprint. So obviously there is a bit of a requirement that you've watched the previous video on how we make the portal and how this is set up. But just quickly as we go over, whichever character, to make sure that it is a character, overlaps, we check to see if it's got a blueprint interface, which is required for this game tags thing to work. Well, it's not required, but it kind of is at the same time. We check if you've got a tag, which is a gameplay tag, and if that's true, then we're changing the color of the barrier, and we're allowing access, so we're saying it's active, which deactivates the collision so you can walk through the door. And then when you run through the door, we're actually removing the tag which allowed you to pass through it from the character, effectively taking the key that you used away from them. And with the pressure pad, so we're on the pressure pad now. I'm basically just using the exact same system of when the character walks over it. If we have activated, I'll go over this in more detail, but just quickly, if the other pressure pad is activated and then you stand on this current one, we're adding the gameplay tag to it. Basically, we're giving the key to the characters, and then if it's not active, it's telling you to go and find the other button, and that's pretty much it. Yes, so just for obviously the more detail now, the box itself, sorry, the pressure pad itself, is just made up of 2 chamfered cubes that have been resized and obviously recolored. There's a base, and then there's a slightly smaller button, a slightly smaller cube, and a box collision. And then just to make when you stand on the pressure pad, the top button just slowly moves down a little bit, and then when you get off it moves back up. That's animated using a timeline. So what happens on a basic level is when we begin the overlap of the box collision, at some point down the line, what we actually do is we start this animation, which lerps between the button's original location, so where it currently is in the world, and then that same location minus 4 on the Z. So it just moves down by 4 pixels. And then when we get off the button, so when we end the overlap, we're actually just reversing that timeline, which then pushes the button back up. So that's just a basic animation, just to give the button a bit more life to it. But none of this actually affects the how the pressure pad operates. So just quickly, I was going to say, I've been ill recently, and it's actually still a little bit painful for me to talk. I've got a bit of a sore throat, and so it might look like I'm struggling to speak. It's because I am, and it's a little bit distracting because it hurts. But I might pause every now and then just to take a break, but we'll see. When we begin the overlap, we cast to a character purely just to make sure that it is a person and not a static mesh that somebody's placed on it. So if you picture like Portal, the game, you can put a companion cube on the actual button. And to be honest, actually, that'd be a cool idea. If we check whether it's a companion cube or a person. That could be a neat idea, so bear with me on that one. But for now, what we're doing, because it's meant to be 2-player multiplayer, we're checking to see if it's actually a character class. Basically, if this cast fails, it's not a character, and that doesn't do anything else. But if it is a character, we then just quickly get a reference to that. So effectively promoting this to a variable just gets the last character that stood on it. We use that so then we know which character we want to add the access to, which is the gameplay tag of access card rare type card. Obviously, if you've watched the previous videos, you'll understand where these come from, but effectively you're adding a new gameplay tag, and I've got access cards, and at the moment the only type of access card that I've got is a rare type, but you could have common, normal, ultra rare, whatever, you know, your sort of statuses, or you could have like elevator key or loot crate key, stuff like that. But effectively my doorway is looking for the access card rare, so I'm adding that tag to this last overlapper. But back over here, so we're casting as a character, we're getting a reference to it so we know who to add the key to later. We're then also saying that this pressure pad has been activated, which will come into the check later to make sure that they're both activated together. Then we use a sequence just because I've sort of kept the animation and the material color being changed separately. So the then one is basically just the animation and which color should the button be, depending on whether stood on it or not. But then the actual logic of what's being activated and all that stuff is going up here. So the first thing that we do is we get a connected button. Now this is just a variable. So I've created a new variable, called it connected button, and it has a type of whatever type your button is. So it's a reference to itself, but as an object reference. So I type in, because if you can see here, this pressure plate is BP underscore pressure plate. So that's what type this is. So you can see here, BP pressure plate, object reference. And when you hit compile, what that allows you to do is that allows you to specify another pressure pad. So when you drag your pressure pad, where are we at? When you drag your pressure pad into the game, you'll see here the connected button, and you can just pick. So I've got 3 in the world now because I've just added the 3rd one. So we'll delete this one, but you'll see here this one references pressure pad 2, which is this one, and this pressure pad references pressure pad 1. So they're effectively connected in some respect. And all I needed to do was I used this little dropper here, and I can just click on this pressure pad and it's now selected it. So if I clear that, you can see at the moment there's no connected button, but if I use this picker and then click on that one, you can see that that is now connected. So this one's going to be looking to see if this one's activated, and this one's going to be looking to see if this one's activated. And when they're both activated, it then gives both characters that are stood on them the access key. So that's basically in a nutshell how it works. So, connected button. Oh, and it's probably worth mentioning that you can only use that picker, this here, if you set this variable to expose on spawn and editable. That's very important because that option will not appear if you don't. Anyway, what we are doing is we are checking to see if the connected button is a valid object. So if this says none, like this does, now this only says none here because you can't set a reference to something in the world from the actual blueprint itself. You've got to place it in the world, and then you have the option to pick something else from the world. So what this is checking for is it valid? So because this has BP pressure plate plugged in, that's valid. There's a valid object stored in this variable. It can continue. If it's valid, it'll do some checks, but before we carry on, I want to go over that is not valid. So if you've not connected another button to it, that means there's only one, or you forgot to. It's either way. But effectively, if it's not valid, meaning there's only one in the level, which is what it should be, we're just adding the access tag straight to our character and granting access. So basically, if there's only one pressure pad in the game, in the level, for that door, it'll just give you an access straight away. However, if your connected button is valid, which means you are expecting 2 buttons to be pressed at the same time, the is valid track will run, and then we're doing what's called an active check. So if we move up to the active check, so we're calling this here, so is it valid? It is. Right, is it active? So what happens is we get the connected button, which is the one that we've tagged. So we know it's valid, so we can run this. And then we are actually checking to see if active is ticked. So active is ticked when somebody stands on it. So this one will be active. The one that we're currently standing on will be active. However, the other one, which is connected, might not be active. If it's not active, it's going to do once and print a quick message saying, find the other button. So then when we do find the other button, this is going to rerun, and the active is going to be true. And then doing a validated get for the last overlapper, which should be our character, which stood on the pressure pad. The reason that I'm doing a validated rather than a pure, like you'd expect, is because this is a multiplayer game, if something has happened which causes this to fail, where the last overlapper isn't there, you'll try and add a tag to something that's not there, and you'll get an error message. Whereas using this is valid, it'll only try and continue with the task when it's valid. If it's not valid, it'll just go here and it'll do nothing and nobody will ever know. You might want to put something like error code 123 and then you know what that is, but you know, that's up to you. So if it's valid, the character which has overlaps the pressure pad now gets a gameplay tag saying access card RUR. Quick message on the screen just for us, just to know access has been granted, and then we're going to stop a timer. Now, where does the timer come in? So when we do this active check, afterwards we're starting a timer which is going to continue doing this check until access has been granted, and then it stops checking. The reason for this is because if one person stands on one of the pressure pads, this bit of blueprint only runs once. So we're only checking if the other pressure pad has been stood on once. That is it. So if I continue to stand on this pressure pad and then stand on the second pressure pad, this code has never run a second time to check. So this guy will get the access granted, but the guy stood on the original one won't. So he'll run through the portal or the doorway, he'll carry on playing the game, and this guy is going to be stuck here forever helping everybody else get through the game. So to make sure that doesn't happen, we're doing the event timer just to loop through this check, making sure that both the person stood on the pressure plate and the new person that stands on the other pressure plate both get access at the same time, and then they can get through. And that's pretty much it, to be honest. And what that allows you to do is, so get your first guy through. Let's get the second guy through. Okay, so we stand on here, and obviously we're getting the message up at the top there, find the other button. So, whoops, what happens is the other guy stands on the button, and now they've both got access granted, which means this guy can jump down, run through the gate, but he can't get back through because his access card has been removed when he passed through that gate. And then the first guy can now go through the gate too, and they're both happy and ready to run through the next zone. So I hope that was useful. Now, none of these events or anything like that actually require any replication. What I would do, just to protect yourself, I'm not actually sure if it's required, is make sure you select your BP, the entire thing, the top level component, your actual actor. Make sure you select replicates and replicates movement. Not too sure on the effect if you don't do that. Maybe replicates movement will only show the animation of the button. Let's play from here. So if I hang on a minute. If I stand on this button, okay, so it does animate on both screens, so that didn't make that much of a difference. However, it's probably just a good idea just to keep replicates on both of them. Not too sure of the effect, but there'll probably be something that won't work because of it's not activated. So just play it safe. Okay. I'm going to leave that there, nice and short and nice and sweet. If you want me to rebuild all of this from scratch, like I typically do in my videos, where I'll make it and talk through it as I go along. If you need me to do that, let me know. I tried to save myself a little bit of talking time by doing it this way. But if anything's misunderstood, obviously comment down below. If you want me to remake this video where I'm building it, that's absolutely fine. Just let me know. If this was helpful, consider giving me a like. And if you want to see more content like this, consider subscribing. There's also a Discord link down below. Big group of us. It's easier to share videos and screenshots with me, and I dare say that I get better notifications from Discord than I do YouTube. So if you do need help, it's usually an easy way to get hold of me. But that's it for now. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Bye.